I do apologize. We had a few technical difficulties. So as I was saying, we have on this call our manager for the liquor registration unit, Ms. Latoya Cooper, and our consultant, Mr. Massey Cash, who will also be presented today. So without further ado, I will hand the session over to Mistress Latoya Cooper Albury.
A pleasant good morning to all. I see that we are having some technical difficulties, so just bear with us. Give us 1 minute, please. Again, a pleasant good morning to all. I just need for someone to confirm that they can hear me.
We can.
Loud and clear, loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. Are you able to see the presentation?
Yeah, we can see it. It's not in full screen, but
So Mistress Albury, you can put it on presenter's slideshow. So once you hover over slideshow.
Okay, 1 minute for me. Okay, so we're going to dive right into the presentation. Again, my name is Latoya Cooper Aubrey, and I am the manager of the liquor registration section here at the Department of Inland Revenue.
Miss Aubrey?
Yes.
1 second before you begin, please. Okay, you're being asked to switch it from presenter's view.
Okay, 1 minute.
Miss Aubrey, you can click the display button below. It looks like a computer monitor. So after the magnifying glass at your left of the screen. Down below, come down. Down to the very bottom. Right, so the option after that has the screen. Okay.
Is that better?
You can go ahead. Mr. McKay will come over and assist you, but you can begin.
Okay, thank you. All right. All right, so the objective for this presentation is to introduce a new certification, the certification of the registration process, which is found in the fifth schedule of the Business License Act. As we all know that the Business License Act has been amended during our 2025 sitting. So there is a registration requirement. We're going to talk about who will be impacted, key dates and timeline, and compliance and expectation. So the certificate of registration. So the Business License Amendment Act, as I mentioned, number 2, 2025, has introduced a pre-certification process for all liquor establishments, which must be completed prior to the grant of an annual business license. The certificate process is required for both new and businesses which are applying for a renewal of an existing business. Now, I just want to pause here for a minute because I know this is going to be a question that a lot of people are going to ask. Yes, if you are an existing business and you're selling alcohol, you have to apply for the new liquor certificate process. If you are a new applicant, you'll fall in this category as well. So both new and renewal applicants have to go through the new pre-certification process. So who is impacted? All liquor establishments. So any business that sells, exposes, or offer liquor for sale, and that includes all of our liquor stores, our bars, our restaurants that serve alcohol, the hotel that serve the alcohol, our nightclubs, and our proprietary clubs, all of them are expected to follow this new registration process. When to register? So we're asking new applicants, if you are a new business, that you have 90 days or you are expected to apply 90 days before an annual business license, or that you apply for your annual business license. And this is basically to allow sufficient time for the registration process to be completed. And for existing businesses, the 31st of December of each year, we're asking you to submit your application. I'm going to pause right here for just 1 minute for me, please, just so I can get my screen sorted. Okay, so we're back. All right, so again, for new businesses, 90 days, you are to apply for your process, registration process, before you go to apply for your business license. And for existing businesses, we are asking you to apply by the 31st of December of each year. So the registration process and the step to register is for, mostly these are for the new people. You are to obtain your trading name and your agency approvals. You are to submit your registration application form, upload supporting documents, pay applicable fees. There is a public consultation and or a written comments process, DIR investigations of applicants and premises, recommendation by a committee, and grant or denial of the certificate of registration. So this is basically what the applicant will go through step by step when they are applying. Whether you are a new or a renewal, you will go through this process. Now, I know those persons who are renewal, you will already have your trade name. So if you have it, just upload the trade name to your application when you're submitting your application. So the agencies that we're looking for those approvals, they are the Department of Environmental Health, the certificate from the Bahamas Agricultural Food, Health and Food Safety, the Ministry of Works, Royal Bahamas Police Force, which they are responsible for the fire inspection report, as well as they are responsible for the liquor license, the Department of Physical Planning, and of course the Hotel Licensing Board that license the hotels. So registration requirements. So when you log onto the portal, you are required to upload some documents, and these key documents and the approvals are the lease/ownership. So you have to show that you are leasing or you own the property. The certificate of incorporation, if you are an incorporated company, that you have to upload. If you are just trading as, of course, as I mentioned, you upload your trade name approval. The beneficial owner's declaration, if that is, if you are an incorporated company, your NIB information, and of course, all of the agency approvals. So pay close attention, yes, for 2026 licensing year, all applicants are required to submit all agency approvals. And I say that again. All applicants are required to submit all agency approvals for this year for their application. So you may ask, Ms. Aubrey, I have been in existence for the past 10, 15, 20 years. Do I need to get all of the agency approvals? Yes. For this new rollout, you will need all of your agency approvals to accompany your application. So as I mentioned, there will be a public consultation and comments section in this process. So for new businesses, the public consultation process and public written comments, DIR issues a public notice inviting persons to attend specific location to provide comments to all applicants. There will be a public consultation review committee conducts public consultation and preparation report. The public also is invited to provide written comments in an electronic form. And I just want to highlight this part. So once the applicants have been published in the newspaper, there is a QR code that is attached to the application. Persons can also go on the Department of Inland Revenue website. They can click on the link. They will use the QR code to make their public comments to a particular application. And for the renewal process, they will go before a public written comments process. So we want to also highlight some factors to consider in the approval process. So DIR will consider, once the application has been received, we will be doing the criminal background checks, suitability of the premises, compliance with fire, health, safety regulations. We'll also be looking at the proximity to the schools and churches or other liquor establishments, the community saturation, and tax and regulatory compliances. So these will be some of the factors that we will be considering while vetting the applications. So some exemptions and exclusions. So the certificate of registration is not required for persons who are offering alcohol as complimentary if alcohol is served on aircrafts and cruise ships. They will not be required to submit an application for the certificate. If establishments are selling gift baskets which offer the alcohol in those gift baskets, they are not required to submit an application. And of course, those persons or those establishments that are in the port area and are covered by the Hawkesbill Creek Agreement, they will not need to submit an application for the certificate of registration. Now, anyone that is outside of the port area in the Freeport, on Freeport, they will have to submit an application for this new process. So we're going to highlight some of the business license categories. And so the license type, and these are some of our main codes. I know they are not limited to this list, but these are some of our main codes. And they are our liquor stores, which are the off-premise only off-premise sales, the wholesale liquor stores. We have our breweries, our wineries and distilleries, the bars and our lounges, the clubs, which are the proprietary club or the members club, the nightclubs, the restaurant and bars, and the full service restaurants, and of course our hotels, our motels, our bed and breakfast casino hotels. So the business license categories, we have some of our subcodes, which for the liquor stores, and they are on off-premise consumption. The bars and lounges, they are required on-premise. Our nightclubs, which are on-premise. Our bars and restaurants, casual dining, which is on-premise consumption. The full-service restaurants, which are the on-premise consumption, and of course, service bars that are set up to drink only. They are serving to their customers on-premise. And we have some requirements for the clubs, the proprietary clubs or the members clubs. So they must have a written rules and elect a committee. And these are mostly the guidelines for the proprietary clubs or the members club. So they must have a control membership with selection process, requires subscription fees, and have at least about 25 members. So you can't come to Inland Revenue and applying for a member club or a proprietary club and you only have 2 or 3 or 4 members. All right, so at least about 25. They're not open to public entry by fee. They are not open to public by entry by fee only. Consumption on the club grounds only, and no guests allowed alcohol unless invited by and in the company of a member. So those are some of the guidelines set out for the proprietary club if you're thinking about going into that nature of business. So what are some of our general requirements for the on-premise consumption? So our on-premise consumption establishments must ensure clearly defined dining, bar, seating, and bathroom, kitchen storage, adequate restroom facilities, occupancy level limits are enforced, and compliance with fire, safety, health, building codes. And our off-premise premise consumptions establishments, they must ensure that clear entry and exit points are established, unobstructed sight lines of alcohol sale areas, compliance with fire, safety, health, building codes, and premise size suitable for the volume of liquor stored or sold. Proximity requirements. So we will be enforcing this for those persons who are applying for the first time. So liquor establishments must generally be at least 700 feet from places of worship, schools, other liquor establishment. There's a limited exception. Full-service restaurants and long-standing establishments within the community have to submit their application with supporting documents and other criteria that will support their application. So I know this is a big question for a lot of them who are in business already, and you find that maybe a place of worship have popped up near you, or you buy a school. So there are going to be a special consideration for those applications. But of course, there will be some additional documents that will accompany your application for this new process. Community saturation. So the factor in determining if an area is adequately serviced. So we'll be looking at the population size and density, the number of existing licensed premises, and the ratio of liquor establishment to population, the consumption pattern, and community concerns and objection. So we will be taking into consideration those community concerns and objections to those applications that we receive. So who is excluded from this process? So excluded establishment certificates will not be granted to takeaway restaurants, walk-up windows that sell liquor, drive-through liquor stores, liquor sold through cages or bars with separate patrons from the liquor that they offer the liquor through. Supermarkets and gas stations will not be granted a liquor certificate. Souvenir shops, those mobile bars, food trucks, party buses that sell or exposes or offer the sale of liquor on board. So please take note that takeaway restaurants, the walk-up windows, the drive-throughs, and the cages, they will not be granted a liquor certificate. So the business license application. So after obtaining your certificate of registration, and once you've been successful, you apply for your annual business license online. You upload your certificate of registration, and the license categories includes the liquor stores, wholesale, liquor, breweries, bars, clubs, nightclubs, and restaurants. So I just want to pause here for a minute just to explain that you will not be able to obtain your business license for 2026, not until you would have obtained your liquor certificate. So you have to apply for your liquor certificate first before you can apply for, or before you are granted your 2026 business license. So the enforcement and compliance. So DIR may suspend, and they have the ability to suspend, amend, or cancel licenses or impose restrictions or conditions if non-compliance with tax laws or law relating to the conduct of the business, breach of a condition, false or misleading information, or where the license does not meet or no longer meets the requirement under the fifth schedule. And yes, there are some offenses under the Business License Act, and some of those offenses are if you are selling liquor without a license, that is an offense. If you're holding a wholesale license and allowing persons to consume liquor on the premises, that is an offense. If you're selling to an underage person, anyone under 18, that is an offense. Employing a person under 18 and direct sale of the liquor is an offense. And making a false declaration, that is an offense under the Business License Act as well. So you may ask, if you find yourself that you have been denied or rejected or deferred, persons have a right to object. And so you have a right to make a complaint as to why the license was not granted, or it was revoked or amended or canceled or restricted. And they have a right to object to determination made under section, as we see here, under section 25. And you can make that appeal and objection to our Tax Appeal Commission against the decision on an objection. So persons, they have a right to make an objection to a decision that DIR has made. So some of the key points in this registration process I want to highlight as I close. It's mandatory before applying for your business license that you have to apply for the liquor certificate. Note that each certificate will be granted for each premise. So the certificate is linked to a specific premise, and it must be displayed on the premise. The expiration for all certificates will be on the 31st of March. I also would like to highlight there are 2 charges for the certificate. For those who are applying for the liquor stores, the fee for that is $100, and those who are applying for all other categories, the fee will be $50. Now, I know you're asking, Ms. Aubrey, how do we pay once we receive our certificate? So for those who are applying for the first time, the new applicants, so when you would have submitted your application, you will receive an invoice. You will take that invoice to the Department of Inland Revenue, and you will make your payment via credit card. Then you will upload that receipt to your application. There is a button, which I'm sure Mr. Cash will explain in his presentation, that you can upload proof of payment to your case. Now, for those who are renewal applicants and you are applying for the liquor registration, once you would have received your certificate, your fees will be attracted to your business license account. So when you go and apply for the business license and you have to make a business license payment, your liquor registration payment will be sitting right there on your business license account. So you don't need to make any payments over the counter or to Royal Bank or to any other place. So once you would have logged on to your business license account, you will see that your liquor registration fees are on your business license account. So again, I'm reminding those persons, if you are a new applicant, you will come to the DIR counter and make a credit card payment. Those persons who are in the Family Islands where the DIR office is, you can go into our office and you can make your credit card payment to those offices. And I think that brings me to the end of my presentation. I will just show some frequent asked questions that I know some people may ask. So they are there on the screen. And at this time, I will turn it over to Mr. Marcian Cash, who will walk you through the application process and how to apply for the liquor certificate. Thank you and have a great day.
thank you, Latoya. Good morning, everyone. I think, yeah, just one second. Let me do a little screen sharing. What I'd like to do is take you through this application process. We have designed especially a portal, especially to handle this process this year, which requires you to not only sign up, but to sign on in order to submit your forms, as well as receive feedback from your caseworkers and to um, give feedback to your caseworkers. All right. And I'd like to just take you through that process. All right. Just one second. I'm just going to go with the entire screen here. All right. Can somebody confirm seeing my screen? Hello?
Yes, Mr. Cash, we're able to see your screen.
Okay, excellent. All right, we're starting with the Inland Revenue site.
Sorry,
And
Mr. Cash, before you begin, can you remove the zone box from the screen, please?
sure.
Thank you.
All right. We're starting with the Inland Revenue site. All right, because that's the easiest way. And I know if you're asked, you need a reference point. You just go to Inland Revenue, you go to Business License, and you'll see here liquor registration. Okay. Clicking that will take you to this how-to screen, and we'll see here, click here. I'm just going to go a little bit faster. So you click here to register. All right. And that will take you to the sign in or sign up screen of the liquor registration portal. All right. Of course, at this point, you would not have an account, or the person wouldn't have an account. So they'd be required to sign up. All right. And clicking sign up will take you to this screen, which your first name and last name are entered, email address, and then fill out the CAPTCHA just for security. You hit sign up, and you will get an email verification of sign up, which you follow. It is our way of verifying that that email address is valid. And you click on that verification. You'll be asked to create passwords and then be signed on to the portal. Now, once signed onto the portal, the navigation is pretty simple for anyone who has any computer experience. Um, you'll see a sidebar menu, all right? And the first thing that you will see is the customer dashboard. The customer dashboard contains all of the information that well, first of all, it does contain the information required for registration under the guidance notes, but it also contains these walkthrough videos on how to use the portal, and some people find them extremely enlightening. But it also has the application status of all of your applications, and we can see exactly where those applications are and what status they are on. It also contains any tasks or requests from your caseworker and any answers that you've sent your caseworker. So you can track the complete progress of your application right from this view. All right. Now, for the time being, let's go to the application process. And I want to tell you that the application in in the case of liquor registration is a two-part process. First, there's a company application, which deals with the company, the business entity itself. And then there is a location application, which is talking directly about the operating entity. And let me explain that a little bit. Okay. The business application, we are talking about um, what's the business status? Is this a new or existing business? What type of business? Okay. Just generally, we're talking about now in this case, we are really talking about whether you are in a corporation, a sole proprietor, um, a partnership, that sort of thing. So, really, in business terms, we need to know what the trading name or the business name is, the street address of the principal company, the operating company. All right, not and this can differ quite a bit from the location information. And I'll give you an example. Like 700 Wines, right? They have a head office which is on JFK, but they have almost 100 different locations. Okay, each one of those straight locations have their own individual address. But in this case, in Form A, we are looking for where is the corporate address? What is the official address of the company? Many companies have uh, one corporate address, but several locations. They have different operating entities. All right. So in this case, we're talking about the corporate address, including the business phone, email, and most importantly, the primary contact who is going to be responsible for this application. We also require information on the directors and owners. And in the case of hotels and private islands only, this is where they would list all of their entities, all of their operating entities. So, hotels have like bars and restaurants and, service bars. That is where they would list it. And for the sake of simplicity, because they all have so many different outlets, what we've done here is we've allowed hotels on their Form A or their company application to simply give us a list of those operating entities. For everyone else, and you'll see this is about the business entity, all businesses must complete Form A. That is true. In the case of hotels and private resorts only, they are only required for Form A. Everybody else has to do both Form A and Form B. Now, one of the good things about this portal and the application process is that it will prompt you as to which files are necessary to upload. All right. And you can see here, I won't go directly into this, but you can see there whether something is an existing or a new business, the different files that are mandatory can change. But the good thing is during the application process, as you fill out the field, the form, it will prompt you as to what is mandatory. I'm not going to go over all of these different files because Latoya has done a great job of that already, but you do have it here as a reference as to while you're filling out the forms, which prompts you are going to get as mandatory or not mandatory. Okay. Now let's talk about the location application. So we've talked about the corporate identity, so to speak. Now we're talking about those locations. Now again, here we need to know when we talk about application type. In the Form A, we were talking about whether it's a corporation or a sole proprietorship or a partnership. Now we're talking about new or renewal. Okay. So here is where you would also say whether this is a new application or a renewal, and you also say what type of business or operating entity this is, and this is where you get very specific as to whether it's a bar, a liquor store, restaurant, members club, etc. Okay, you have the business name, and then we're going to talk about the street address and geolocation a little bit more because it's very, very important. Remember that, uh, like Miss Albrecht said, we have to consider whether or not you are close to um, either other bars, restaurants, but more specifically, schools and places of worship. And so when you set your location here, uh, we are going to use this to measure your distance if it is found that you are very close to or yeah, in the vicinity of one of these sensitive locations. All right, so here again in the application B is where you put your government agency approvals, and all the approvals that are mandatory will be listed. And you also need your lease or conveyance. So again, location application, which is Form B, is critical and very um, streamlined to give us information on the operating entity rather than the business entity itself. Okay. And you need one of these forms for every operating location that your business has. Right. And again, we can talk about mandatory fields, but we have this here for reference as well. All right. So even pictures, they are mandatory. Now, let's just talk about navigation very quickly. And like I said, I think anybody with any computer experience um, or phone experience will find it pretty easy to navigate around the menu. But once you submit a form, you can always go back and view and edit those forms. Okay. And those you will see, I have it highlighted here from the sidebar. In the case of Form A, view company profile. That is where you can view the information that you've already submitted. And again, in Form under locations, and then location details, you can always go back and look at the location details and edit them if required as well. Okay. Now, let's just talk about geolocation. Um, I know people have a hard time with this. People are always asking, well, how do I fill out my location? Uh, well, we've made it as easy as we can. What we ask you to do is simply fill out the address as well as you can, which will give you an approximate location, and then click this little location icon right here. Okay. Now, once you click that icon, it'll give you a map, and we're asking you to take Street View because Street View simply gives you better detail of like the buildings and streets, street names, that sort of thing. All right. And then you zoom into the map because it's going to give you an approximate location. Like I said, just by filling it in, and you just zoom in on that location. And then as you get closer, you should be able to distinguish a little bit more closely about where your business is. And that is where you would simply click on the actual location and then click done, and it will give you a very precise location based on that map. Okay. And that is the location that we'll be able to find your business with, but also the location that we'll use to compare against sensitive businesses, okay, in the area. One other feature that is really important is the drafts feature, because as you know, there are many, many approvals that are needed. And a lot of times our clients just don't have them all at the same time, but they'd like to start filling out these forms. And they're able to do that and save the form as a draft, and then go back, retrieve the draft, and then submit it once they're complete. Okay. So you'll be able to find drafts um, right in the form menu, and you'll see at the top it'll say there are drafts available. You can view the drafts, go back, complete the drafts, and either resave it as a draft or you can submit it. Now there's only one thing with drafts: they only will stay there for 15 days, after which you have to either submit them or delete them, or they will disappear and you'll have to continue again. Now, just for, and I think Latoya has gone over this already, but hotels and private islands, like we said, they only have the Form A, and we ask them to list those outlets, and you can see the outlet types that we have: restaurants, bars, nightclubs, and service bars. So all they need to do is fill out the name of the outlet and the type of the outlet, name of the outlet, type of the outlet. So it makes it easy. An example of that is Bahamar, which has almost 60, I think it's like 65 of these outlets. And so it was easy for them to list all those outlets. And that way they have them on record with us. And, we can make sure that they are all certified and registered. Okay. Now, just some of the features of the portal, very simply, what we're trying to do is to ensure that our caseworkers are able to get in touch with the clients, and that the clients can get in touch with the caseworkers. So we do have on the menu client email, which any of our clients can immediately just go in if they have a question, and it'll go directly to their caseworker. All right. Or if they have a task, they can go to client email, and this task would come from the caseworker, and they can put in the name of the task that was assigned to them by the caseworker, and then the body of the email, upload a file, whatever it is, and hit submit. And then that file and that email will go directly to their caseworker. All right. You'll notice that there is no name except the customer name here, not the name of the caseworker, because there is confidentiality that we need to maintain. And so this is a way, without divulging names, that we can get our clients to contact their caseworker directly. All right. We even have a help section off of the menu for people who are having issues either using the application, or even in some cases, they may have questions about the application process. And we have an SLA of 48 hours on this. And clients do take advantage of it. because it allows us, once they fill out a ticket, to send a link to their device and actually help them walk through, because we can see the process, and a lot of times we're able to identify issues that they're having. Sometimes like the file size that they're trying to upload might be too big, or they're having connectivity issues. And that way we can diagnose these issues and help them with the process. All right. And like I said, we try to keep it within the SLA of 48 hours. Right. Now, just talk about the dashboard. This is a live view to our business process. All right. So, what we're trying to do is provide a live view where our clients have all up to date information, and they do not need to call anyone, because they basically, once logging into our portal, have all of the information that is available. There's nobody at the Department of Inland Revenue that has more up to date information. And so they can see where their application is. They can log in and get information from their caseworker if they need it. Okay. And that really, the portal is their self service. Um, that is the tool that they use for self service. All right. So we can see the status of their location applications as well as company applications. Um, and that is immediate. Okay. As this changes, they will get a notice that something has changed. All right. Now, again, like we talked about the customer tasks, which are available from the dashboard, and there are three steps and tasks. When the officer requests information, the task is open. When the client answers the request, it goes to in progress. And then once the officer reads the request and finish uploads the information or makes the change, it goes to complete. All right. So customers can not only see their open tasks, but you know, they can interact with the process as well. All right. I won't go into this. There's actually a movie on the site as to how customers are to, because they did have some issues responding to the tasks, but we did a video, and it has improved this process greatly. But everything is sort of like a point and click. So you point, you read the contents of your task, and you say send the caseworker, and there you go. All right. So everything we've tried to simplify, we've tried to make communication as seamless as possible for all of our clients. All right. So that's a basic walkthrough of the application process. Um, thank you very much for your attention, and you all have a good day.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cash and Mistress Aubrey, for a very detailed and informative session. We will now go through the questions in the chat. So the first question given by Miss Loretta Pierre. Good morning. Sorry, my apology. La Shante Hannah E. Banks, why not an online payment option?
Well, I'll tell you, that is exactly what we wanted. It has been a little more difficult to coordinate that than it should be, but it's something that we are looking to be able to do. Um, Unfortunately, not all of the payment portals that we have for DIR are directly within our control, and so um, yeah, in order to coordinate that, we needed a little bit more time, and we're still looking at that as an option.
Thank you, Mr. Cash. Lorenda Johnson asks, does this portal work for family islanders as well?
Yes, absolutely. We have clients not only in the Family Islands, but also in the US and Canada and Europe. And people are finding it very easy to work because it is in the it's an online portal, so it's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All right. So yes, absolutely, including the Family Islands.
Thank you. Mr. Elvis Bean asks, why do you require documents that can't be obtained locally? He's on the island of Eleuthera and started the request for approvals from the various agencies in October and still don't have everything. The ones which can only be done in Nassau are very difficult to obtain. This is something that needs to change. So the question is, why do you require documents that can't be obtained locally?
Hey, Latoya, you there? If not, I'll answer on her behalf. It is our understanding that any of these agencies that are not available in the Family Islands, we have been taking the approvals from the local government representatives. All right. And they are acting
Yes,
in
Mr.
their stead.
Yes, you're quite right, Mr. Cash. So those persons, if you're trying to get agency approvals and you notice that for instance, for physical planning, we know physical planning is not in all of the Family Islands. So of course, you know that you will go to
Is it?
your administrator to get your approval
I'll do the camera
for
back.
some of the agencies.
Let's see.
All right.
Bottom my back. Thank you, Mr. Zalbury. Fontanet Polymus asks, so for confirmations, are souvenir stores not eligible to sell liquor?
Souvenir stores are not required to submit an application. They will not be granted a liquor certificate.
Thank you. Okay. Lashante Hannah Ebanks has another question. Would the agency approvals be needed every year?
All right, so we know that there are some approvals because this is a new rollout initiative. We are asking persons to submit their requirements each year. Now, for some agencies, we know that they are renewable every year. So we know that the BASFA, if you're selling food, you know that you have to get your certificate every year. If the alcohol with the police, you know that you have to get your liquor license every year. But of course, the Ministry of Works, we will not require you to submit that only in the event that I guess you are doing some, constructions or reconstruction, or you're doing some amendment to your property. So we ask you to submit the Ministry of Works approval. So again, some approvals are required annually and some are not. Okay. And they are only required in the event that you are doing some adjustments.
Thank you, Miss Aubrey. Miss Stephanie Russell asked, does the category of liquor establishment cover businesses that sell liquor from a window? Or would liquor establishments still be allowed to sell liquor through a window?
So as I mentioned in my presentation, we will not be granting certificates to those persons who are selling alcohol. Those are the takeaways, the cages, and the drive-through windows. No, so we will not be granting a certificate for those establishments. However, that doesn't mean that that you stop there. So what they can do is just follow the guidelines as to how what DIR will allow. And so once they would have followed the guidelines and amend their premises to those guidelines, then they can go ahead and apply for the certificate.
Thank you so much for that answer, Mistress Albury. Another question, when will the approvals begin being processed? This person, Miss Liliana, my apology, Gonzalez, is saying that a submission was made more than a month ago and they have not received the certificate.
Okay, so we have granted some certificates already, and we are in the process of granting another set of certificates. Now, if you had applied, now let me just explain for those new applicants. So if you are a new applicant, you know that there is a process that you have to go through. And so your application has to go before a committee. So if you had applied a few months ago or a month ago, or how long, and you already went through the process, you've been gazetted. So your next process would be to go to the committee. So once the committee has met on that application, then we will determine whether or not your application was successful or not. So those new applicants, they will take a little bit longer than the renewals. Now, if you had applied and you are a renewal and you did not get a response, maybe it's because you probably did not supply all of your approvals, your agency approvals. I'm sure the case officers will reach out to the applicants to make sure that they have complied with all of the approvals. So if you did not approve, and what we find also too is that a lot of people are not watching the tutorial, meaning that they are not filling out Form A and Form B. So when persons get on the portal, they're only filling out one part of the application and not the other part. And so some people find themselves where you would have only submitted a Form A and not a Form B. That delays the process. So you're thinking that, hey, I've completed my application and I haven't heard anything. It's because only one part of the application process has been completed. So I'm encouraging persons to make sure, pay close attention. There are two applications that need to be completed, A and Form B. So once you would have completed those and you would have submitted all of your agency approvals, we go through a gazetted process. Once we go through the gazetted process and there are no public comments, then for those renewal people, you will be receiving, once we get all of our DIR inspections completed, we will be issuing the certificates.
Okay, I will read the last question in the chat. The deadline for submission is December 31. Is there a grace period to comply with the new requirements before enforcement begins? And that question came from Ms. Daphne Russell.
Okay, so yes, we know that the deadline was the 31st of December because this is a new initiative, a new rollout, and we know that it would have been impossible for persons in trying to get all of their agency approvals to meet that deadline. So yes, the DIR has given an extension, or they are allowing persons up until the 31st of March to have their application in and to be compliant. So we are given an extension until because we're going to move in conjunction with the business license. So we're giving persons that ability, or that allowing them to work up until the 31st of March.
Thank you. Okay, so this is the last question. Any additional questions can be forwarded to the email provided at the end of this call. So Ms. Fontanet Paulamus asks, for those existing businesses who already sell liquor in not being granted a certificate, which means no longer being able to sell liquor, do they receive time to get rid of current inventory?
That is something that we will have to I will have to discuss further with my manager. But I guess with the inventory that they have, we will definitely seek to see how best we can accommodate those persons. So I can't answer that question outright, but I will get an answer for her. If she can kindly send me an email, and I will get back to her on that.
So thank you so much, Mistress Albury and Mr. Cash, for a wonderful presentation. Any further questions that you have, you may be feel sure to forward them to Latoya, Latoya, Cooper, Cooper, Albury, Albury, at bahamas.gov.bs. So that's Latoya Cooper, Albury at bahamas.gov.bs. So we thank you for joining this call, and we look forward to assisting you in the near or distant future. Have a wonderful day.